It is the second part of the discussion on performance appraisal, and in this class our focus is on the performance appraisal process. In the part 1 we discussed about the purpose of performance appraisal. In the second part we focus on the process and what are the benefits for an effective appraisal for both employee and employer, and we conclude this class by sharing with you what are the barriers for an effective appraisal. So let's start to talk about the appraisal process. The performance appraisal process can be summarized into 4 main stages. First, identify the criteria for assessment. Second stage, production of an appraisal report. Third stage, appraisal interview. And the final stage is follow-up, conclusion, and action plan. And I will share with you the details of each step in the next slide. For the first step, identify the criteria for assessment. It involves examining the corporate plan of the business and deciding what targets should be set for the employee in order to help the business meet its objective. It's very important to have a goal for not only for the company but also for the staff as well, because the staff or the employee, they need to help the organization to achieve the company goals. If the company goals is not well communicated with staff and not put on the target or the criteria for assessment, then how the employee help the organization to achieve its goal? So first of all, it's very important is to examining the corporate plan of the business and set the target based on the corporate plan, set the targets to the employee. And it usually based upon job analysis, job requirements, performance standards, and person specifications of the individual goal. And next, the second step is production of an appraisal report. The manager will then prepare an appraisal report detailing the appraisee's performance in the agreed criteria. Sometimes the appraisee will also write a report and the two will be compared. It's about the reports because as we explained in the part 1, appraisal is or performance appraisal is a formal process. So a report is needed or required. And sometimes staff, they don't want to be appraised by the manager. They would like to perform the so-called self-appraisal. What does that mean? What does self-appraisal mean? It means that the staff, they write their appraisal report first, and the managers review the output at the end of the process. It saves the manager time, and employees may find it difficult to be truly honest with themselves about their strengths and weaknesses. In other words, for the appraisal report, at the beginning of the period or during in the months approaching to the end of the period, the staff needs to write about the goal and also his or the comments about himself or herself, and the managers will review it at the end of the process. Sometimes it's good because if, say, the staff or the employee write something on the report, but finally they cannot achieve it, then people can help, or the manager can help the staff to identify what are the gaps, and can the company help the employee to achieve the gap, because both manager and subordinates are work with each other or work together in order to achieve the company goals. And the third step, or third stage, is appraisal review here. Meyer, a scholar, identified 3 types of approach to appraisal reviews: tell and sell, tell and listen, joint problem solving. And during the interview process, the purpose of the interview is to have a chance for both manager and the employee to exchange of views about appraisal reports and discussion or agreement on action points, training and targets for the coming period. And whether it is effective or not effective, it depends on the approach in the interview. As said, there's the 3 approaches: tell and sell. So what is tell and sell? Tell and sell means the appraiser that the managers adopts this strategy as like a salesperson trying to convince the subordinates that the appraisal is fair and that they can and must change in certain ways. It is a one-way communication system. So your manager just tell you and sell you about what you need to change in order to be performed or to have better performance, say for example. It's not about listening. And the second approach is tell and listen. It's a bit different from tell and sell. The appraiser or the manager listens to the job holder's perception of their job and their problems, expectations, and aims, and does not dominate the interview. And the appraiser, after listening about the sharings from the subordinates, and the appraiser can change the evaluations with some of new evidence. And it is considered to be more effective than tell and sell. But the principle or the foundations here is the managers have the background or the initial scores for the subordinates already before the appraisal interview. And the scores in the appraisal can be changed after listening about from the employee and see whether it can say to be more fair to evaluate or to assess during the appraisal interview on the appraisal reports. And the final approach or another approach mentioned by Meyer is joint problem solving. This represents a shift in emphasis from the first 2 methods, that is the tell and sell and tell and listen. The appraiser uses many social skills to encourage the interviewee to do a self-assessment, admit their own problems, and suggest solutions, with the appraiser acting as a coach or counselor. For the third approach, it is very modernized approach, honestly. But the disadvantage of this approach is time consuming because the manager needs to spend a lot of time to coach the staff in order for them to be confident to write down or to do the self-assessments, encourage them to admit their own problems, and even the staff need to suggest to the solutions to the problems as well. So it needs the manager to have a very good coaching skills or even a counseling skills as well. It's a modern approach, but it's not widely adaptable in the modern world because we need to train the manager to be a good coach before the joint problem solving approach in the appraisal interview can be conducted. And the fourth stage here is follow-up and action or conclusion and action plan. This involves giving out the results of the appraisal, monitoring the progress of the action plan, carrying out agreed actions on training and developments, and giving regular feedback. So after the appraisal interview, it doesn't mean that the appraisal process is ended. We need to follow up, like what we mentioned in another class. Maybe we need to have another year a target as well for the issues addressed or highlight in the appraisal interview or put in the appraisal report. The manager needs to take an action plan with the subordinates for next year in order to see any improvements, so the company goal can be achieved and the staff performance can be improved as well. So next, about the performance appraisal process is whether the organization or the employer should focus on activities of the job holder or the results achieved. These two approaches have their pros and cons. That is, there are some say one is better than the other, but not always true. So let's check. The major advantage of appraising in terms of activities is that it helps generate information that can help in the training and development of poor performers. So in other words, if an organization focused on assessing or the assessment criteria is on activities, then it helps to generate more information to see the overall process, whether the staff has any issues or any skill gaps, that the organization can help to provide some training in order to close the gap or even to improve it. But the disadvantage is it may only encourage people to concentrate on their activities at the expense of results achieved. So in other words, the people will just focus on the activities or the process. They don't care about the final results. And it's not good for the organization if the organization needs to grow, or say, for example, if it is a commercial organization, the results is much more important, say, for example, because they, especially for some startup, they need to have sales, they need to have profits in order for them to survive. So let's see how about the other approach, that is the criteria based on the results. Appraisal based on results has the advantage of encouraging and rewarding the outcomes desired by the organization. That means the staff is only recognized with results oriented or with better results. So it's quite simple and straightforward, but it has the disadvantage because it encourages the people to break rules or go against company policy to achieve what is desired. So what does it mean, go against company policy? Because an organization should build up the internal controls in order for them to have a better corporate governance, as we discussed in another class. And the people would like to break rules in order to achieve the target. They don't consider company policy is important in certain way because they would like to have recognized of their performance based on their results, not the process. So it is a disadvantage for the people like that to break the rules. And for an organization, the effective appraisal can have benefits for both employer and employee. From the employer point of view, it has 4 different benefits. Say the first one is it provides a formal system for assessing the performance and potential of employees with a view to identifying candidates for promotion. So with an effective approach or with effective appraisal, it can help to the organization to grow the business because they can highlight the proper candidates for promotion in order to achieve better results for, say, the next period of time. And also, the effective appraisal can provide a system for identifying ways of improving the competence of employees in order to raise the general level of efficiency and effectiveness of the workforce. So it's about first one is about the results, and second one is about the efficiency and effectiveness. And the third benefit is it is a valuable system for human resources planning and ensuring that employees are ready for promotion to fill management job vacancies that arise. As discussed before, the appraisal not only help the employee alone, but also help the employer as well about the human resources planning and resources allocation. And for future leaders, the performance appraisal is very important to identify any potential leaders in the company. So once the management job vacancy is available, then they can identify which candidates can fill the job. And if it is well managed, communications can be improved between managers and staff. So improve work relationship as well. So here is the assumptions is if it is well managed. Okay, we will explain to you if it is not, then what happens to the organization. And from the employee point of view, the benefits of effective appraisal include, first, to get feedback about the performance at work and an assessment of competence. So in other words, the employee will be happy if they are recognized during the appraisal, and also have the feedback as well, because not always good. Sometimes they have some feedback on their works on how to improve, but it is also good for the staff development. A formal appraisal system offers the employee an opportunity to discuss future prospects and ambitions. So for appraisal, an effective appraisal is not a chat or just a talk. It's a formal appraisal system. And the appraisal reports should be filed as a record so the employee can think it is an opportunity for them to talk about the future prospects seriously, not just a chat. An appraisal interview may be used as a basis for considering pay and rewards, and it's quite straightforward, and many people think it is the first component in the appraisal as well, about reward. And the last benefit we discussed here is appraisals can be used to identify and agree measures for further training and development to improve the employee's competence. Because appraisal is not just about the salary, it's not just about the reward, it's also about the training and also the staff development as well. So how to improve the employee's competence is also a very important topic under effective appraisal. So the last part in this class is the barriers to effective staff appraisal. As I share with you, if the appraisal well managed, then a lot of good benefits that the organizations for both employee and employer can perceive. But if it is not handled carefully, the appraisals can cause demotivation for employees. A scholar, the Lockett, suggests that there are 6 main barriers to effective appraisals. So let's see. Here are 6 barriers. First, the appraisal as confrontation. Say, for example, views are different regarding performance. Feedback is subjective, and feedback is badly delivered. Assessment is based on yesterday's performance, not on the whole year, and disagreement over prospects and solutions. All these we consider is the appraisal confrontation. It's arguing. It's not productive. It's destructive. Then the appraisal is not considered as effective. It's the barriers of our effective appraisal. So it's a skills for the manager to manage it. And next barrier is appraisal as judgment. Like the appraisal is seen as a one-side process the manager is judge. Like what I said, the approach that Maya mentioned, tell and sell. So it's like judgment. Just one-side process. The manager is a judge. Appraisal is imposed. So it's not, say, no feedback or not consider any words or comments from the staff. Another barrier is appraisal as chat. Like it's not formal. Lack of will from either party. No outcome set. Unproductive conversation. So just a chat. Then it's not the purpose of appraisal. As we said, appraisal is a formal process. Need to be documented and reported. So it's not just a chat. It should be considered as a formal process for them to seriously consider how to move forward, how to improve it, or how to achieve the goal, how to develop the career as well. An appraisal as bureaucracy. So like it's just like a ceremony, traditional ceremony, no purpose of work, just simple a box ticking exercise, like the appraisal reports, like check the box. Okay, just check the box or tick the box. So it's not productive, and it cannot serve the purpose of appraisal as well. And it's very similar to the next barrier here, appraisal as an annual event. The same as a bureaucracy as well, like it's just a traditional ceremony, no sense of purpose of appraisal, and no focus as well, no focus on goals for the coming year, just an annual event, just come, hey, celebrate, then it's not an appraisal. The last barrier here is appraisal as unfinished business, like frustration at limited appraisal time, no belief that issues will be followed up. So if we remembered appraisal, after appraisal interview, there is a follow-up and actions and conclusion as well. So the barriers here, that means some managers cannot manage well about the appraisal process, and then it comes to the barriers we discussed here. And in this class, I would like to share with you some questions for you to remember what we discussed. First, the first question is, Eliza is currently being appraised by her manager, Ingrid. And Ingrid has told Eliza that her performance has been poor during the year and explained why. And the staff disagreed and explained the reason that she has been unable to meet her targets. The manager thinks okay, and amend her appraisal score to satisfactory. So under our discussion on the appraisal interview approach, so what type of approach here that Eliza having? Democratic, tell and listen, joint problem solving, or tell and sell? So if you remember what we discussed about the appraisal interview before, then you can answer this question. Another question is straightforward here. Appraisals are always good for motivation. Is this statement true or false? So we talk about appraisal, the benefits of an effective appraisal as well, but also we discussed on barriers to effective appraisal. So whether you think this statement is true or false.